we have gone through the process of spinning our singles, applying those together, and now you're ready to take your yarn off your bobbin and finish your yarn. So what exactly do I mean when I say finish off the yarn? Well, it's a little bit of a process, but the main concept is to set the twist, stretch your yarn out a little bit, and also fluff it, which is a term named thacking, and it's a crazy one. So the very first thing that we have to do is we have to make a hank. Then we have to put that hank into a soak bath to set the twist. Then we need to let it fully dry before we can start working with it again, because you do not want to work with wet fibers as they can break. And then after that, you can start fluffing, thacking your fibers and stretching them out a little bit, which is what I'm going to be showing you guys in today's video. Then also, if you are wanting to either for yourself or selling it to somebody, you do need to get the yardage count along with the whips per minute, which will also give you the weight of the yarn, which sport weight, DK weight, worsted weight, whatever weight that is, and then also how many ounces it is, grams, all that good stuff, and fiber content, anything that somebody, if you're selling it, that needs to know about that fiber. The very first step is creating a hank, and there is two different directions that you can go when creating a hank. The first direction is using a nitty knotty, which is what I used to do when I first started learning how to spin, or you can also use a Swift, which is what I'm going to be doing in today's video. That is my preferred method, and to me it just goes by a lot quicker. Now, when I am creating a hank, typically I will also get my yardage count, but for today's video and how I have to be set up, I can't easily do that, so I will be getting my yardage count at a separate time. Now, to also create a hank, you are going to need some scrap yarn of your choice so that you can tie your hank off. So I'm going to go ahead and start winding my yarn onto my bobbin. Let me change my camera around real quick and then I'll get back to you. Sometimes I have to mess with the angle of my spinning wheel and my Swift so that my yarn is easily coming off of my bobbin and not having to tug so much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start off by wrapping my yarn around whatever one of these legs first so that it's not pulling straight off the bobbin. So I'm going to wind that on there just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and start winding that yarn onto the Swift. Now that my yarn is wound onto my bobbin, the very first thing that I'm going to do is, if my two ends match up together, I'm going to go ahead and tie those together. If they do not, there's two things that you can do. Either you can backtrack and to where they meet up and tie those together, or you can take a scrap piece of yarn and run it to however long that your other end is and tie it together that way. And that gives you a little bit more yardage count. Then we will go ahead and tie the hank together. So I'm going to take my scrap piece of yarn here, and you can either run it from the back or you can run it from the front, whichever you prefer, but I like to run it from the back. So there is 2 strands on each side of my hank. I'm going to go ahead and split my hank down the middle. I'm going to take my bottom piece and thread it through the split section and then back around to where it's now back in the front again. For my top, I'm going to thread it through the split section, back to the back, and then to the front again. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie those 2 ends together. And usually I put 2 knots just to making sure it is secured. And then whatever I have left off, I will cut that a little bit. And then I'm just going to go ahead and repeat that process all the way around. After you have pulled your hank off of your Swift, the next step is to let your fiber soak. I do a cool bath with no soap because I'm very cautious about soap, and sometimes it can belch your fibers if you're not careful. So I try to eliminate that and not use any soap at all. But if you decide to use any kind of soaps or detergents, you do need to use a wool wash, especially if you're using protein fibers. Now, some people will use also a lukewarm bath, but you do have to be careful about temperature. So I just do a cool bath with no soap so that it eliminates any kind of velting. So I'm going to let this soak for about 20 minutes, depending on what I'm doing and how long I just feel like I want to leave it in there. So I'm going to let this soak for at least 20 minutes, and then after that I'm going to let it dry. And a salad spinner comes very in handy when trying to wring out fibers. You don't want to hand wring them out because, again, you can risk the chance of felting your fibers as well. Once your yarn is fully dried, now we get to thwack our yarn. Before I thwack, I typically kind of stretch it out a little bit by placing both of my hands into my hank like such, and just kind of give it a little tug by rotating. So just tug it and rotate at the same time. Now, once you think it's good and kind of stretched out a little bit, now we get to thwack. And it's just as crazy as it sounds, and maybe even a way that some fibrous artists get their anger out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our hank and we're just going to whack it onto our table. while you're thwacking your yarn onto your table, you just want to make sure that you are rotating. Once you have thwacked your yarn, and the reason why we thwack is it's said to believe that it helps fluff out the fibers and helps set the twist a little bit. I don't know how much it does, but it's just a fun thing that fiber artists do. But once you have thwacked, you can get any kind of information that you need jotted down about your yarn, whether you still have to get the yard count, the fiber content, the whips per inch will also help you know what weight or type of weight your yarn is, whether it's lace, sport, DK, worsted, bulky, super bulky, so on and so forth. And then you'll actually need to get the actual weight, which is ounces and grams, and then any other information that you need to know about your yarn. Once you have gotten that all completed, you can go ahead and hang it up, and that is how we finish our yarn. And we are now done with the beginner spinning series. I hope you guys had just as much as fun as I did. I hope this video or the series helped you guys in some way, fashion, or form. If it did, don't forget to give this video a like, share, comment, or subscribe. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can feel free to email me and I would be happy to help. But I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video.